John and Jonathan thought that it might be good to tell the story of how I make one of my paintings, how I approach it. For me, the most important thing is the ability to draw before even thinking about making a painting. If you can draw, you can paint. It's just the next step. And I always say that you can draw with paint eventually. So I began this painting of Minnesota loons with this idea in mind. A formative idea is looking through and turn it on. Go ahead, you do that.
I just want to turn it on for you so you can use the pointer here. There you go. Okay, then you know how to dance.
Yeah, of having a formative idea of what I wanted to say. I was thinking about painting a loon family. I love to paint families. It always kind of projects the idea of the future of the bird. I could paint a bird on a stick, but I want to paint a bird family. I want to have babies in there, if I can. So I can. It's like a pointer towards the future life of that creature. And in this case, it was a commission by someone in Woodburn who came from Minnesota and wanted me to paint a big picture, and they had a pretty good budget, and so they commissioned me this work, and I began it by some lily pads and some space. So you can see in the far. Let me get this thing. There we go. You can see I made a ridge line there, and then another ridge line that's closer up, assuming that there's something behind here, water down in here, and then actually showing water, and then bringing it up forward right to the beginning. I like the idea of going from the particular to the universal in my work. I like the idea of going from very small to very big, to way out there. And I kind of like to bend the idea. It's not like really like a photograph. This is more out of my head. So I really compose my works. Let me go to the next step here. Then I added on the drawing. I did some drawings separately and brought them in size to my drawing. And it is a fairly large drawing, and you can see it. And then I began to play with the plants in the foreground, placed the male, and I actually added on another child in the next picture. So you can see how my drawing is very important. And I kind of closed it in. There we go. There we go. This is what they call the underpainting. I made an underpainting of the loon and painted the loons in. Added my second bird, as you can see, a second baby bird, and began to block in the. Whoops, boy. Sorry here. I don't know how this works, Jonathan. It's not going where I wanted to. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is the next step. And one more step here. So then I began to add on color. Really working the background, really defining the Phragmites plants that are right here. And the shoreline, and begin to just indicate some water through there. And then also working close up with the water lilies. And then the next step begins to add opaque paint. In other words, I added white to my paint and fixed all the details in. And then finally came up with this.
Wow.
And as you can see, I like to use some spotted light here by this bird, speckled light through the reeds, and then out in the open are the female and her babies, and then telling the season, that hot feeling out there in Minnesota, stuff on the water. Yeah. So that's how I approach a big oil painting. This is totally different than doing an illustration. Now, there's a picture of me in my studio. A lot of the pictures that you see on the wall are giclée prints. I make a way to preserve my work as a photograph, and then also as I make a giclée print, which is a handmade print in Portland, Pearl Publishing, so that I can make a living. So that's my studio in Hubbard. So these are some drawings that I have done. This is for the National Geographic Field Guide. My frigate bird, just an example of a drawing. And the important thing for me is I begin with an egg shape. Here's a very long egg in this case. And then another egg shape right here. And then I determine the center line through here. And the center line here, as you can see that I've turned the center line, is not the same as this egg. So I have the head turned. The most important thing is to keep in mind is that center line, which you can see I start it right there and then assume it over the top, and then the same here. Keeping that in mind all the way down. Now here is wow, that's really came out well. Here's a Hutton's Vireo. Again, I create the bird from drawing an egg shape and another egg shape, and then the center line. See, think about it. How many points of view, especially, I can tell you how many points of view there are in viewing a bird in the field. You know? Think about that when you're birding. What am I looking at? How am I seeing a bird? Especially when you're trying to identify something that's very hard. Look at the center line often. That's one of the things that I do. And then I add a tail and wings onto this egg. So see, my egg shape is this way. It's not just like a profile. It's a 3/4 view. Now, let me go to the next one. Here's a drawing that is just a profile. I did this in Japan. Of a Japanese wagtail in the marsh. But again, I'm looking at all my birds. I always begin them with the idea of a circle that's consistent with the body, and one that's consistent with the head. And then I can add on stuff. And if you're into drawing birds, that's how you should begin. Here's one too. It's a great horn, long-eared owl. Now you can see, thinking about how do I want to show this water thrush? How do I create a sense of motion in a painting? Thinking about what is the best position of these legs to try to show that motion. So I'll do drawings like this. I begin, as you can see, I'm trying to find this little button here. Okay, again, the egg is collapsed in this case, pressed into the body. Various tail positions, leg positions. Okay, this I did for the Eastern Guide of Backyard Birdsong book. Now, I have to be very, very precise in this case for this book, and I happen to have a bird skin in this case sent to me, and I had to count the wing formula, and I don't know if people have ever heard that before. It's the distances here on a bird's wing in relation to each other, particularly warblers. This primary might be tucked under here. So how do the primaries lay and what's the distance between them? It sounds pretty picky, but it's the way to identify, I'll show you in a minute why, species. Here's a real big egg. This is a scale quail bathing, sand bathing, for a picture I did, and you can see the egg in there. And blue grouse, lots of eggs in there. Okay, this was a mock-up plate for plate 3 in the first edition of National Geographic Field Guide to the birds. We were trying to figure out how much water we wanted under the bird, or if we wanted it at all. And if you look at the plate, you'll see that they edited it. I had some severe editors. They completely removed all this. They didn't like it, and then I think they removed this too. Unfortunately, they were called enhancements, but they were really good for showing the bird, I thought. So this didn't get through.
So I want to understand, Jon.
Sure, go ahead.
You presented this and you added some of the habitat there, right?
Yes. Yes.
And
Whoop.
that didn't fly, are you saying?
It didn't fly.
No, it did not fly.
Yeah.
They felt it was too crowded, and
Uh-huh.
I don't know. You're a birder. What do you think?
Oh, I love the habitat because that's I feel like it's my middle name or something, that you're always thinking about it. Without it,
Without it, yeah. How about the water?
love it.
You see,
You have to see how low they're sitting in the water.
Yeah, and that was
Yeah.
on the nest, which is in the water, which is what they are.
yeah, you can't see that, but you've got people who we had to think about. We had to put the names in there too, didn't we? We had to put designation of species and male and female. Yeah. So they were severely editing it.